Greetings everyone, welcome to Chess Advanced. This game was played in the 45th Olympiad, and with the black pieces now we have Arjun Erigaisi. If he's able to draw this game or win this game, he is ensured of an individual gold, because then he would have either 9.5 out of 11 or he would have 10 out of 11, which is absolutely phenomenal play by Arjun. And now he's facing off, India is facing off against Slovenia. So here Arjun is facing off against Jan Subelj, and let's see what happens here. Arjun just Jan just go for e4, and we have d5 by Arjun. That's what I was really excited about. He goes for the Scandinavian defense, and I play this a lot because I enjoy it in a shorter time format. But definitely in a classical game, playing a Scandinavian is really crazy. Here we have e caps on d5, queen caps on d5, and just knight to c3, queen to d6, now d4, and now I have knight to f6, knight to f3, and just g6 in this position. Knight to b5, attacking the queen, queen to b6, a4, and just a6. I mean, definitely no one would be expecting Scandinavian to be played at such a high level, so he definitely came prepared. This is the Kubinski-Meltz defense, and here just knight to a3 comes. We have bishop to e6, and just going for knight to c4. Bishop caps on c4, bishop captures, bishop to g7, and now just finally castles in this position, castles c3, and we have c5, just challenging those central pawns, and queen is already out, so may as well put some use for the queen to be able to try and attack or do something else. You could go for this d caps on c5, but the thing is that for queen caps on c5, you lose your edge. Bishop to b3, knight to c6, queen to c2, and rook a to d8. Your position is absolutely fine. But here after c5 we have a5, and now just comes queen to c7, d caps on c5, and just queen caps on c5, queen to d4, asking for a queen trade, but not trading. If you want to trade, you trade on my terms. And now just going for this rook to c8, and here you could trade, but the thing is that you would be losing all your initiative. Here just rook captures, bishop to e2, knight to c6, and next rook is jumping in. You've developed your pieces, and white is still waiting on developing that bishop. Wherever you develop the bishop, rook will move, and most likely black will definitely enjoy his position. But after rook to c8, we have knight to e5, not trading the queens. Here just e6, rook to a4, and just queen captures. Finally going for that trade, c captures, knight to c6, and just knight caps on c6, rook captures. And in this position you could go for this very crazy line with bishop to d3, and the thing is that the bishop belongs on this diagonal. You don't want to keep it on the diagonal. That's not really useful. And after knight to d5, here just g3, you play f5, rook to d1, and bishop to f6, h4, and after this king to g7, you play king to g2. Most likely, I mean, still should be a draw, but the thing is that there are much more chances in this position for white to do anything rather than what he played. After rook caps on c6, Jan just goes for bishop to g5, and now just comes a rook to d8, rook to d1, and just rook to d7. Everything is fine now. I mean, seems like a decent position, maybe the one you can hold even for Arjun Erigaisi. But the thing is that he is not just in an insane form, he is absolutely there's a very high rating difference between both of these players. Arjun is 2778 while Jan is 2498, so 2500 to 2700, there's a 250 rating gap. But still, I mean, I don't think so anyone would be thinking about rating differences here. Once you're playing, you're just there immersed on the board. But still, Arjun is in top form, and here, I mean, it's going to be really difficult to try and do anything against him. Even if you're able to hold him to a draw, that would be a really really good game for you. But here in this position, just king to f1 was played, getting the king into the game, because Jan thinks that this is the end game. But just knight to d5, king to e2, h6, now bishop to e3, and here just going for knight back to e7. You don't want to trade the piece early on. I mean, with the knight to the bishop seems like a decent move, but if you go for this knight caps on e3, the thing is that if captures comes, you go for rook c to d6, and after rook to a1, e5, d captures, rook captures, and after rook captures, trade everything, and after bishop caps on e5, the thing is that the position just completely goes into a draw. So if you want to have some chances in this position to try and not go for a draw, here just knight to e7, and now just comes bishop to d3, we have rook c to d6, and now just going for this rook to d2, f5, bishop to c4, and now just finally going for this g5, f4 now, and here we have g4, rook to b4, trying to go after the b7 pawn if the rook ever moves, but just knight to d5, bishop captures, finally trading the bishop for the knight, rook captures, rook to b6, and just king to f7, just getting the king into the game, because it's going to be absolutely important. And if you see the bar here, evaluation bar, you can see that it's shifting a little bit towards black side, and that's all that Arjun really needs in this position. In the end game, if he's better, he's controlling the spaces, he's able to even win a single pawn. As you can see, there's a lot of pressure there, and he might be able to do something, but currently you cannot take, because the thing is that after everything takes, rook takes, and after rook takes, you will lose this pawn. So that's why that's not really what you want to do in this position. So here rook to d, go for a move like king to e7 in this position, just bishop to f2, and rook caps on a5, just finally grabbing that pawn. d5 now, and d5 is a beautiful move. If you go for rook to b5, rook captures, a captures, bishop to c5 check, king to d8, and you have to be really careful in this position. One false move and your entire position would crumble. If you go for d caps on e6, which seems like a decent move, but the trouble is rook captures comes, and after king captures, here bishop caps on b2, and yes, you have one check in the position, but after king to e8, you have to understand your position is really bad. And although you have a passed pawn, but I also have a dark square bishop, and if it was a light squared bishop, maybe you would have some chances, but here you have no chances at all. Bishop is coming back. I'm going to be winning this pawn. I'm going to be up 2 pawns in the end game, although those are double pawns, but still my chances would be really much, and Engine is giving it as a +6 evaluation. That's absolutely crazy. So here after rook to d3, rook to e7 was played. I'm not going for all of this. Obviously, there are a lot more chances here to be able to draw the game than any other one. But here, rook d to b3, bishop caps on d4. Now just comes bishop captures, rook caps on b7, and here rook to e4 check. King to d3, rook caps on f4, finally grabbing a lot of those pawns, and you have to be really careful because now there are 2 against 4 towards king side. One false mistake, one mistake at all, and your entire position would crumble. So here rook caps on e7 was played, king caps on e7, rook to b7, and rook to b7 was the mistake that did it all, because here in this position, the move that you would want to play to be able to draw this position is a rook to b6, and rook to b6 is the only move, because what you want to do is eliminate this pawn as fast as possible. Then you can start pushing your own pass pawn, and then it will be a race, most likely the race in which Arjun would be a little bit better, but still the position is a draw, but with perfect play. But here rook to b7 was played. Now it's not a draw. Into f6, b4 comes, and it seems like it's a draw now, but here rook to f2, rook to b6, rook caps on g2, and you can understand that g pawn is a lot stronger than that a pawn, because now it had that hindrance. You mistakenly, or you did not calculate enough, and you did this one tempo wastage that you did with the check, and now you have to bring the rook back, now capture it, and it's not going to be enough now. It just rook caps on a6 was played, but now just comes rook caps on h2. We have rook to a8, rook to a2, and b5 now, but just g3, a6, h5, and here just king to e3 was played, but now just comes h4, rook to g8, h3 now, rook caps on g3, tried, but here just going for this h2, and there is nothing you can do. Rook to h3 was still played, but now just comes rook to a3 check, and now you're losing the rook. So here king moves, and here e5 was actually checkmate, not even bothered to capture the rook, and the checkmate did appear on the board, and with that Arjun Erigaisi won an individual gold, setting up a perfect prime example for all the young prodigies who are looking to take up chess as a profession and want to achieve amazing milestone. This guy did it. He did it without even banking a sweat. He got a score of 10 out of 11 in the Olympiad and helped India win the Olympiad gold. That's absolutely spectacular, and I covered this entire series, all of the games I've shown on my channel, all of the draws, even all of the wins, and yeah, this was a spectacular feat that was attained by this young genius prodigy. I know it was a team effort, definitely it was a team effort, but the thing is that what these genius prodigies have been able to attain, I mean, Divya getting a 9.5 out of 11, I mean, even Gukesh getting a 9 out of 10, and Arjun getting a 10 out of 11 is absolutely spectacular. Without them, it will be really difficult for India to have achieved this feat, and although all of the players definitely did help, without both of the teams it wouldn't have been possible. All of the players are absolutely spectacular, but these 3 feats really stood tall of Arjun, Divya, and Gukesh. That's why I've covered all of them on my channel, so you can go check that out as well, and this was really absolutely amazing. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'll be coming back with such amazing games, so stay tuned to the channel, stay updated, and I'll be able to see you guys very soon. Thank you very much for watching.